Hey, what's up guys? It's Joe from GadgetryTech.com, and today we're kicking off the Nebula Cloud series networking solution from Zyxel. Now it consists of a few products. You have your security gateway, which does your routing functionality, you have your wireless access points, and you have a switch, of course, to power everything and handle all your wired infrastructure. So in this particular setup that we're reviewing, the NSG 100 series security gateway, we have two wireless access points. This is the NAP 203, and then we have a 28 port power over Ethernet enabled switch that handles powering the access points as well as all of the wiring throughout, in my case, the home, in your case, possibly the office or house, of course. So we're going to kick things off with discussing pricing. Now, it doesn't compare directly with Ubiquiti's offering, which I think is, in this case, more of a prosumer type of product offering. Zyxel, I think, is a little bit better suited towards businesses, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But let's go over pricing. So the security gateway, they have a few different offerings. The 100 series sells for $400, and that includes 1-year license for the cloud services. And again, we'll get into licensing soon. Your wireless access points, there's a lot of different vendors that sell them. I've seen them sell for as low as about $200. But a typical purchase price from a trusted reseller is about $380 to $400 per access point. The switch is just under $400. It's about $385 from places like Amazon. Now, this entire package, as priced with current pricing in 2018, is about $1,440. So $1,440. That's US dollar. So it's a bit more expensive than Ubiquiti. However, as I will show in testing, the performance is a little bit better on the wireless side of things. So depending on your environment or the feature set you're looking for, you are getting a little bit more because you're paying more. Now the licensing on the security gateway, it comes with a year for the $400. You can buy it prepaid with additional years. Every additional year is $70 to do all the management services, and then you can do a lifetime license for $350. There's also application filtering and intrusion prevention, intrusion detection systems that you can deploy with this gateway, including the 200 series, which is a faster version. Those licenses sell for $100 per year. So that basically covers it. Now, Ubiquiti does not charge you a licensing fee for anything. You pay for all the hardware up front and that's it. However, they don't give you as much control or capability as the Zyxel series in it. Ubiquiti has a cloud box that you plug in. It allows you to do management locally as well as remote. Zyxel is all cloud-based, so you don't have to buy any extra hardware, just connect it and it'll give you a management portal through the web browser. In addition to CLI, of course, if you're doing local configurations. So that's the pricing. Again, more expensive, has licensing on top of that, but you get more control and capability. So we're going to go into the unboxing of each product, kind of explain what they come with in the box and what they look like, and then from there we'll go into testing, and then testing how it compares to Ubiquiti. Alright, so this is the Zyxel NSW 100-28P 24-port power over Ethernet switch. Now this is from the Nebula Cloud series. It is a managed PoE switch. You can do quite a bit with it. It sells for about $500, at least on Amazon. And every single port on the first 24 are power over Ethernet. It has a 375 watt power rating, so it can power quite a bit as far as devices go without needing external power. Now, I already took this out of the box because it would have taken too much time to unbox just given the camera angles and the noise. But this is basically what it comes with. The only thing not in the picture is a large heavy gauge power cord, but there is a power cord included in the box. You have your rack mount ears, screws, rubber feet. If you should decide to set it on a shelf or a tabletop, you can do that, but all of your hardware that you need to mount it in either way is included. You have your warranty card / user guide, or quick start guide, FCC compliance, all that stuff is in this little package here. And here is the switch itself. So as you can see, 24 ports, all of the status lights are actually on the left hand side. They are not in line with each particular port. Some people may or may not like that, but I just wanted to point that out. One thing I do like is that it does have dedicated light outputs based off of if it's power over Ethernet or not for that particular port. So let's go like this. So that is basically the layout. You have power, system status, the alarm, and locator if you decide to do that or use that feature. The ports go from bottom up, so you can see one on the bottom left and then two goes above it, etc. And as we go to the right, you have four 1 gig connections, if you will, Ethernet for uplink, and then you have four SFPs that support fiber to use that for uplink instead. Model information is on the back, or bottom I should say, and we're going to flip this guy around so you can see what the back of it is designed like. Now this is an actively cooled system, meaning there are fans. The left hand side has your fans, and typically that's the intake side. Anytime you see the fan, the exhaust is on the opposite side of the chassis. So on the opposite side you have a lot of ventilation there, and that's where all your airflow comes out, so keep that in mind if you have tight quarters that you want some ventilation there. And on the back is just a power input, the AC 110 to 240 volt input. Power consumption is a max of 5 amps. It gets nowhere close to that from what I've seen so far in testing. And that's basically it. Now, because this is a cloud managed switch, you do not see a console port on the device. It is all managed through the web interface or CLI if you want to access it directly. But that's basically the switch. Again, this is a $500 appliance. It has 375 watts of power over Ethernet capacity. We're going to actually spend some time going over the features in a moment here, but this is basically what you get inside the box. Okay, so now we're going to cover the Zyxel NSG100 security gateway. This is the device that can serve as your DHCP server to give IP addresses in a network, your firewall, your router, etc. And it also provides VPN capabilities, packet inspection, etc. Now this guy is a $500 appliance. They have an NSG50, which is a little bit cheaper, slower, less capable, but it has a lot of similar features. So we're going to look at the box. Now the only thing I changed was I took this out of the plastic sleeve in advance, so you didn't have to deal with that noise and the time delay, but it does come wrapped in plastic when you buy it. Power and system status, USB ports, 2 WAN ports for redundancy, and then 4 LAN ports right there. So let's see if I can get the focus on it well. There we go. So that's the front of the unit. We're going to flip this guy around. You have a console port. It's blue, so it's not VGA. It is a DB9 console port. Power switch, and then a 12 volt 2.5 amp input. Now there is ventilation on both sides. This is designed to be rack mounted. However, there are no fans, so it will operate silently. And as you can tell, you have a Kensington lock on the back. Even though this does not say wall mountable on the website, it does have 2 very shallow screw holes on the bottom. So if you get the right screw and anchor it into the wall, you could technically still wall mount this, although it is designed to be rack mounted. So let's take a look what else you get for accessories. Okay, so there's a couple nice things. You have these large rack mount ears. This is basically what's going to go on the side of the device, so you have a nice clean look in front of the rack, etc. Rubber feet, so if you do set it up to be a desktop device and you don't mount it on anything, it does come with rubber feet. And here's your little screws to actually mount the ears to the device itself. Okay, so you have an international based power adapter. Even though it's the rating on it says 12 volts, 2.5 amp, the input on the power supply itself is 100 to 240 volt, up to 0.5 amps max. And you can see those little prongs sticking out. It does come with different adapters for different countries, Europe, Asia, and America. So that's included in the box. And of course you get your quick start guide, which is going to give you very basic information, basically telling you where to log in to manage the device, as well as FCC compliance and other detailed specifications on the device. And that's about it. The rest of it is just extra padding. There is nothing else in there. But that's what you get in the box. The rest of the review is going to focus more on the actual interface itself, features, performance, etc. But I always want to start with an unboxing so you can see what you get out of the box as far as hardware goes and what to expect. Okay, so now we're going to do the unboxing of the Zyxel NAP203 wireless access point. This is of the Nebula Cloud series. It's about the middle of the road. They have a 103 and a 303 model. So this is going to be a good balance of features. The focus right now is just the 203 and what you get in the box and how it's designed, specifications, stuff like that. Now this guy sells for right around $300 online, depending on your reseller. I've seen it just under $300 and just over. So you may find it, you know,
fluctuating a bit depending on who your supplier is. Inside you have, of course, a manual, and I'm sure you have, regulations, FCC compliance, stuff like that. So we're gonna toss that aside. Here's the actual access point itself. Let's slide this off. So this is basically an 8-inch disc. It's just under 1.5 inches thick. I think it's 1.38 inches thick, and it weighs a pound. It's 0.98 pounds. So if you look at the lights on the front, just to quickly go over, you have a power light. Now these do blink and change colors depending on what they're indicating, so you can expect different information here. But you have your power. This light, if it's solid green, means it is being managed by the NCC or Nebula Cloud Center. 2.4 and 5G, that should be pretty obvious. That's your wireless frequencies working correctly and that they're activated. The first one is your PoE, Power over Ethernet uplink. That's what's actually feeding power and data to the device, and it will change color depending on your negotiated speed, whether it's 100 or gigabit. The second port is because this has 2 Ethernet ports, which I'll go over in a minute, and that will also indicate your speed. The last one is just a location light that can either blink or stay solid, or whatever, or be off, I should say, if you're trying to locate the access point or not. So that's a quick way to identify that. Going underneath, we see a lot of good ventilation. The disc here, which I'll go over, is how you'll mount it to a ceiling or a wall. But as far as the port design goes, you have the yellow port that you see is the uplink port that will provide power over Ethernet and data. You'll see a switch right here that basically puts it in ceiling and wall mode. LAN 1 is your output, so if you want to connect another device to it, just to give it additional Ethernet connection, you can do that, and it'll give you an uplink. And on the left hand side you see a reset and a console port, which is not USB. I'll try to pop this cover off. So there you go, that's the console port access. So going over how the disc is connected to it, let's try to unbox this while I hold it. There we go. So the disc is pretty straightforward. You have 2 screw holes, and from the looks of it, it goes like this. Let's see, nope, I'm upside down. Alright, so once you have the disc mounted in the ceiling, you're going to basically press it against it so it sits flush, and there's that little tab on the bottom. Once you rotate it, let's see if I can get it to pop into place. There we go. So now it's locked in and it's secure. Now depending on how you're wall mounting this, they do give you 2 different anchors. You have the large white ones are basically designed for ceiling mount, and then your dark gray for your wall mount. 2 screws are included. Obviously you can use whatever you want for hardware as long as you feel it will do a good job and do its job properly. These I do not recommend using for suspended ceiling tiles. That will just destroy the foam and the access point will fall. So it does not come with what you need to mount it to suspended ceiling tiles. You would have to buy that separately or make your own bracket. Basically installing this under the ceiling tile, and up above you want a flat plate that can anchor into. So that's basically it. Again, 1 pound, it's 8 inches wide. Those are the lights, those are the ports. It's about $300. This is just the unboxing. We're going to actually do the full in-depth review when we tie it into the rest of the Nebula Cloud series and see how they perform together. Okay, so that covers the Zyxel Nebula Cloud series unboxing. As a quick recap, we went over the switch, the security gateway, and the access point, and in our test we will be using 2 of those. Now, as a quick comparison to the Unify series from Ubiquiti, for those who do not get to watch the other videos, starting with the access point, the Zyxel is a slight off-white in color, whereas the Ubiquiti Unify is bright white. They are both very similar in dimensions, almost the same width and almost the same thickness. The Zyxel is wider and flatter. The Unify is a little bit shorter but thicker off the ceiling or wall. The Unify comes with a power over Ethernet injector. So if you do not have a power over Ethernet switch, but you do want a mesh type topology for wireless networking, you can do that. Otherwise, with Zyxel, you can purchase a power over Ethernet injector separately. If you have an office with suspended ceiling tiles, the Unify access point does come with a backplate to mount it on those without purchasing additional hardware. With Zyxel, you do have to buy additional hardware to properly mount that. Now, on the other end of things, Zyxel does include a switch on the underside of the access point to switch it to wall mount mode. So in your application, if you do have to mount it on a wall or in a hallway, depending on your infrastructure or environment, you have everything you need to increase the performance and get the most out of it. Whereas with the Unify, although you can mount it on the wall, it might not perform as well because of the beamforming technology. It is intended to perform as a ceiling mounted access point. Moving on to the switch, you have on the Zyxel removable ears, so you can mount them perpendicular or the traditional way to rack mount it or wall mount it. Because it's a little bit deeper than the Unify, you cannot mount the Zyxel switch on a traditional shallow network rack unless you reverse the ears to make the switch come further out from the rack instead of being flush mounted with some other components you may have. It's not a big deal, but that is something to note. On the Unify switch, the ears are built into the switch itself. They are not removable, so the only way you can install this is to rack mount it, and that's about it. Now, as regards to cooling, Unify has 2 fans, Zyxel has 3. The Zyxel is slightly louder on overall decibels, but the tone of the fans are a lower frequency, so they actually seem a little bit quieter to the human ear just because it's less of a harsh sound to it compared to Unify. Unify is higher pitched. Moving on to the security gateways, the Unify security gateway is very compact. You get more limitations with regards to what you can physically connect to it. Think of it as a traditional router with an in and a couple outs to connect to your local network. Whereas on the Zyxel, you get 4 LAN ports and 2 WAN ports. So if you want to have multiple connections coming in for redundancy, rollover, or just isolating your network, you can do that. The Zyxel does allow you to rack mount the security gateway. Even though it's very compact, it comes with the extended ears, as you saw, whereas with Unify, you have no way to rack mount. It's pretty much going to sit on a shelf. So that covers the quick unboxing. We're going to move on to the Nebula Cloud Center configuration video. That's going to showcase what we can do with the hardware, what to expect. We'll show some performance benchmarks with itself and with Unify where applicable. And then the final video will show a recap of our final thoughts and how everything stacks up. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.